Hello and welcome, listeners, to the first episode of Plano's Political Pitbull Podcast. I am Esther, your host, and I have my wonderful pup here, Ruth, with me. Say hello, pup.
Hi.
Very cute. If you have followed Plano's Political Pitbull website in the past, you know us as writers and voiceovers for the site. For those that are not familiar with us, we are a blog website that posts articles and videos, occasionally, about Plano City Council. And now we are adding podcast to our site. We have here at Plano Political Pitbull, know everyone is busy and some may not have the time to read an article. So we are launching this podcast for those who prefer to listen rather than read. We also plan on keeping this episode and future episodes to 30 minutes or less. This one may be a little bit longer because of our intro. And the idea of that is we want you to be able to listen while you're in your car on the way to work or running errands, or maybe during your lunch break. Now, while our name is Plano's Political Pitbull, you don't have to live in Plano to listen to us. While we do focus on local issues here, the principles we plan on discussing cross over to all aspects of local governments, county, state, and national level government. Because the local government affects everything we do. And I'll give you an example of that. Are you driving on a road right now in a city? That's local government. Stop at a stop sign. That is local government. Pay your property taxes. That's local government. And yes, even renters pay property taxes. They, of course, pay it through their rent. They don't pay it directly to the city. But nevertheless, the landlord is not going to, out of the goodness of their hearts, pay those property taxes on their own. If you buy something, you pay sales tax. That goes directly to your city government. Your cell phone, your internet bills all have local taxes on those bills. Your water, your sewer, your trash, all local governments control. Yet, even though local government has more control over our day-to-day lives, people tend to focus more on the federal government. And obviously the reason for that today is cable news. They are mostly national. CNN, Fox News, your cable news of your choice, mostly they focus on national. Maybe your town has a local paper. If you're in a large city, you may have a large city paper. But if you're like our Plano city paper, just does not focus a lot on what your city council is doing. So we are here to fill that hole. And that brings us to what happened in Plano's March 13th City Council meeting.
Ooh.
Now, if you haven't watched it yet, you can go to our city website, plano.gov/1565/Plano-TV. And every city council and every city should have a website. And you should be able to get your city council meetings on that website and watch them. If your town does not, that is the first thing you need to demand of your town. Because not everybody can leave their home, can attend city council meetings at their designated time. So we watch them here at the Pitbull. We watch them back on our very own Plano City website. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about today is the rules governing the comments of public interest. On the May 13th council meeting, Ruth, the city council voted on the public comments in cities' public meetings. Now, for those who may not know, in the past, comments of public interest were often at the beginning of the meetings. They were usually right after the council votes on the consent agenda. And it was basically for the Plano City residents to come and talk about stuff that is not on the agenda. Typically, that could be anything from, we need a traffic light at this intersection.
Yeah, that's where you got all the mundane, boring stuff.
Yes, that is true.
We need a stop sign.
One lady loved to come and talk about how we absolutely needed a stricter non-smoking ordinance. I'm glad to see she has not been back in a while. Sorry, ma'am, there is just not much the city can do about that. 2 years ago, something that did get the city council's attention when it was brought to comments of public interest was residents coming and complaining about short-term rentals in their neighborhoods. Now, the idea of public comments or comments of public interest was basically for residents to bring up problems to their city council and fix it. Now, Ruth, this is not a new idea. This dates all the way back to when we were actually colonies to England. For you see, people would go to those in charge of the colony or the settlement and air their concerns or complaints during public meetings. And at Plano City Council, this section of the meeting was always after the consent agenda. Until fairly recently, when we had some pro-Palestinian people cause the mayor to recess the meeting without getting any work done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go into that whole kerfuffle. But needless to say, after that, they moved public comments to the end of the meeting. So the poor person who maybe just had a complaint about a dangerous intersection would have to wait until the end of the meeting now. And the council decided it was going to even go further than that. And it voted on and passed a list of rules for comments in public meetings. Now, this does not just pertain to comments of public interest. This pertains to all comments. So maybe you have a comment about a certain agenda item you would like to speak about. Well, now you have to follow these rules too.
So what I'm hearing is that a bunch of people ruined it for everyone else, but they're also using it as an excuse to make all these rules so they don't have to hear you complain about the things they don't want you complaining about.
Pretty much, yeah, you got it. So let's go over this list, and you can also find this list in the agenda section of the city council's city's website. So, public comments made in the city's public meetings must relate to city business and fall within the city council's purview. So basically what that means is they got to be something that we can take care of. Which, okay, I can get along with that. Would you agree with that?
Reasonable.
I mean, that's reasonable to me. You know, they're not going to be able to do anything about geopolitical politics, such as the war in Ukraine.
Like they can't do anything about Israel or Gaza or anything going on there.
No, can't do anything about that. Okay, I can go with that, sort of. because there's a higher principle here. But I understand what they're thinking. Comments that do not relate to city business shall be directed to the appropriate local, state, or federal representatives or agencies. Okay, well, that's fair enough. At least maybe they can help you out in getting it to the right person. Now, this is where we go into interference, or shall we say, attacks on the First Amendment. Signs larger in size than 8.5 inches and 11 inches are prohibited during public comments in the city's public meetings. So basically, you need to stick to a regular sized paper that you would get from your printer.
So no one can see it.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, if you're up at the podium, they do have a projector that you can put the paper on. But, yeah, basically, if you're in the back holding up a sign, I don't see how the council is going to be able to see that from the dais.
And you've got a bunch of other people who also have their signs, so having a single projector isn't going to help.
No, that is not true. Now...
You mean that is true?
Sorry, yes, that is true. Now, I understand the reasoning for this. You don't want the signs to interfere with somebody else being able to see. But if the sign is maybe a poster and it's in your lap and it's only blocking your body and not interfering with anyone else's space or view, I don't see the issue.
Yeah, and if that was really what they were concerned about, they just say make sure that signs must not obstruct other people's view. So like stand in the back or sit in the back or keep it in your lap or,
put it on the floor.
Logical things.
Mm-hmm. If you're in the front, I remember seeing one lady, she put a big poster sign, but she sat it in front of her legs. She was in the front row and she sat it in front of her legs. It didn't obstruct anybody's view. No banners, also, and no props. Oh dear, no props.
What do you mean by props?
Well, there was one very famous lady. She brought a bag of groceries one time to demonstrate what a person could buy with the money that they were going to tax on a tax increase.
I think I remember that.
Yeah, very famous. One. I think she still gets comments on it from the time to time. So one lady brought a large picture. She had a problem with her neighbor obstructing her view, and she brought a rolled picture, and she unrolled the picture. So that, I guess, would be considered either too large, because it was bigger than 8 by 11, or a prop.
And that's the stupidity of this rule, because that's a very good prop. She's showing evidence of this person obstructing her view, but because the poster is too big and it could be considered a prop, she now couldn't use that.
Correct. That is correct. Now, this next one is very interesting. The following forms of speech, I'm going to repeat that. The following forms of speech or conduct are prohibited in the city's public meetings. Now, I have a copy of the Constitution here. And it clearly states in Amendment 1 of the Bill of Rights, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech. It goes on to say, or of the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble, and to petition the government of a redress of grievances. Now, let's just focus on prohibiting the free speech clause of that. Now, yes, it starts off with Congress, but the people have long decided that these rules do not just prohibit Congress. They prohibit all forms of government. It would make absolutely no sense for the people who were there at the time of the Constitution to say, well, Congress can't make laws abridging free speech or addressing the government for redress of grievances, but the state and local governments can. It would make absolutely zero sense. So we know now that, yes, the First Amendment does pertain to all forms of government. But notice it does not make any exceptions. It doesn't say you can't abridge the freedom of speech except for. There is no exceptions there. And now, Ruth, don't say, but the Supreme Court said.
I wasn't going to say that.
Oh, I know, but, just in case you were thinking that. No, the Supreme Court does not make rules. They make opinions. And yes, the Supreme Court, in an opinion, did say that governments can control the time, place, and manner of speech. For example, you cannot stand on a soapbox outside your neighbor's house and go on a bullhorn at 2 o'clock in the morning, because then that interferes with your neighbor's quiet right to enjoy, or the right of quiet enjoyment of their property. So that, okay, I can go with that. But here you have a government saying that when you come and talk to them, here are things that you can't say to us.
And it's a pretty extensive list.
Yes, it is. And we're going to go over that list. So, the first one on the list, booing or hissing. Not quite sure what they have a problem with booing or hissing. Stomping your feet, or foot stomping, as it is listed. Okay? Shouting or yelling.
I could get behind that one. I feel like shouting doesn't really do anything.
Shouting does not do anything. Also, if you're interrupting another person, that's not right, because that person's time gets interfered with.
Yeah.
Okay? And also, I might add that for anyone who has watched city council meetings on the television or on the website, on your computers, when you're shouting, you're not mic'd. So if you're sitting down in the audience, you're not mic'd. Nobody at home can hear you.
All they hear is
pretty much. And again, the camera isn't facing the audience. It's usually facing the city council. So we can't see anything. And most of the time, it's not even facing the rafters when it's facing the person who's speaking. Maybe we get to see the first row. So it's sort of pointless to shout.
No one really pays attention to it.
Nobody who's not in the audience can hear you.
And no one pays attention to it. They just move on.
Exactly. Ripping paper.
Who rips paper?
I don't know, but first of all, why would you rip paper? I don't understand. And second of all,
why do they have a problem with it?
Yeah, why do they care? Who cares? Are we talking about the person at the podium rips the paper into the microphone?
Or are we talking about other people's signs? Because I could get that, but most people's signs are cardboard.
Or just, the little printer paper. But again, why would that be bothersome? I don't understand that. Certainly, I have never seen or heard anyone rip paper, and I watch city council meetings every time they come out. So That's just a bizarre one to me.
Yeah, I don't know what they're referencing.
Mm-hmm. Amplified sound other than city-provided microphones. I think that might be the Alex Stein rule. For those who are not aware, Alex Stein, who is now has his own show on the Blaze Network, he first became popular when he came to city council, and he's been back. Alex, if you're listening, do us a favor. I think you're very funny, but go to other city councils. We're good. We're good. We're good. We're good. We've laughed. We've cried. We've seen the hysterias.
But you put us on the map.
Yeah, you put it not for something that we want. So, head over to Dallas, maybe Carrollton, maybe Frisco. They could use a laugh too. Anywho, playing music, videos, recordings, or using artificial intelligence. That could be an Alex Stein thing.
Oh, it's definitely.
That could be an Alex Stein thing. Comments tending to incite outbursts, immediate threats, intimidate violence, and or illegal conduct. And then let's parse this. Tending to incite outbursts. How is a speaker supposed to know that?
I guess avoid controversial topics.
We are talking about a government entity, though. Granted, it is a local government entity, but, somebody's going to have a problem with what you say, no matter what it is.
It might be in reference to the whole, the Hamas supporters.
Yeah.
Because that's heated.
Yeah, true. But again, it's comments tending to incite outbursts. Now, again, remember, there was no exceptions in the First Amendment, in free speech. So that clearly, to me anyway, should be stricken and against the Constitution.
Yeah, it's like the hate speech thing.
Exactly, it is. And the reason we have free speech is not for speech we like. It's for speech we don't like. Because back in the days of the founders, when we were under King George's rule, if you spoke out against the king, if you said something the king didn't like, the king could literally cut off your head.
Yeah.
Or throw you in jail.
Yeah, so now you can say the most heinous things, and you can disagree with it. Someone can disagree with it wholeheartedly, and that's perfectly okay. But the other side of it is also, unfortunately, that person also has the right to say those horrible things, and everyone else has the right to disagree.
Now, the illegal conduct here, I think, is funny because why do you need that in here? If it's illegal, you can't do it anyway. So it's sort of repetitive. All right. Intimidate violence or immediate threats. What is that like? You threaten to hit the mayor? Big deal. The mayor's got, first of all, if you do that, you're not playing with a full deck because the mayor and the council have police at either side of the dais now, and they got guns. So you're not smart if you think that threatening the council is a good idea.
No. I think. Oh, you're talking about immediate threats?
Yes, I'm talking about
I went.
G.
I went down to H. I thought you were done with that.
Mm-hmm. But H is an even better one. Repetitive and or irrelevant comments. Okay, what is the big deal here? First of all, what is irrelevant? That's what I would like to know.
Whatever they deem irrelevant.
Exactly. So whatever the rulers, whatever the 8 kings or / queens up there deemed to be irrelevant, now you can't say.
And if you also had like the same thing you wanted to say, so like let's say you had 30 people who were against a
zoning case, maybe?
Zoning case, yeah, that's a good one. And they would say pretty repetitive points. Now you can't do that.
Right.
Which is counterproductive to the whole point of either being for or against a certain ordinance.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, can you just go up there and say, I am against this ordinance, please vote it down? And if 30 people got up there, would that be against this? Because I must say, it does get a little boring when you've got 30 people saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, but it also makes the point stronger and lets them know, hey, we really don't like this, or we really like this.
Exactly. And you know what? If 30 people want to get up there and say the exact same thing, they should have the right and do have the constitutional right to do it. Creating or participating in a physical disturbance. Okay, again, why does this need to be here?
That's assault.
Yeah, that is assault. If you are, the way I'm reading this anyway, if there is a fight that is breaking out or broken out and people are hitting each other, you can't do that to begin with. So now they're being repetitive. Okay. Speaking while not recognized by the presiding officer or speaking beyond the allotted time.
That's already a rule.
Yes, that is already a rule. It's written down now. So with the first part of that is, by the way, if you're keeping track, it is item J now. So if you're speaking and you're not recognized, you're not mic'd. So only council can hear your comments. And if that's your goal, you can obviously send them a letter. Call them on the phone, text them. Some of our council has been nice enough to give out their phone numbers. Those that haven't, I have to wonder why. But anyway, so people who are not in the audience, and even those who are in the audience, can't hear you. So your point won't be getting across anyway. And speaking against your allotted time, I mean, I'm okay with if you're in the middle of a sentence and the timer goes off, finish your sentence and then you're done. You can't be there all day. Okay, we got to give everybody a turn. The next one, preventing others from speaking and or observing the meeting. I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
Well, it means like obstructing people's view or obstructing people's speech, I guess. But
how would they do that? I've never seen that happen at a city council meeting.
Yeah, I think they just started making up rules based on just things they think might happen, but not based on things that have happened.
Like if somebody tries to block the podium? I've never seen that in my time watching city council.
Like I said, I think they're starting to make up things.
Mm-hmm. But you never know. I mean, it could happen.
Just to add rules, because they love to add rules.
Mm-hmm. Perhaps it could. I've never, like I said, we're usually all very nice in Plano, and most people are polite. And I've never seen somebody actually try to prevent somebody from coming to the microphone and getting their turn.
Unless there's something we haven't seen, and something crazy did happen, that just seems like common sense.
Mm-hmm. And the last one is engaging in personal attacks or insults that are not relevant to policy issues or other official city business. Now, that to me sounds very similar to you cannot speak against the king or the queen. Back in the day, you could not call the king a drunken, blowhard tyrant. It was considered treason.
Would this be another rule based off of that guy? I can't remember his name.
Oh, Alex Stein?
Yeah.
No, Alex Stein actually, whenever I saw him, he never called the city council members' name.
No, he never called them names, but he did insult them, especially the mayor.
He's not a fan of the mayor. No, he's not. I have heard one person at least comes to mind that did call the former mayor the derivative of a donkey. So that could be what they are referring to. But again...
And it hurt their little feelings.
Yes, they hurt their little feelings. But again, the reason why we have freedom of speech is for speech we don't like. And council needs to understand that there are going to be people out there who don't like them, who don't like what they do, and are going to call them names and grow a thicker skin if you can't handle that.
You're in the public eye. That's kind of the consequence of being in the public eye, no matter if you're famous in television and movies, famous on the internet, or, in government.
Exactly. Most importantly, in government, like I said, these are not kings or queens. They are elected officials. They work for the people. And while I think that we should have some decorum, be respectful, be pleasant, you're more likely, what they say, to get flies with honey than vinegar.
But not everyone's like that.
But no, not everyone is like that. And who cares? At the end of the day, we should be able to tell our elected officials exactly what we think of them. And, we're unless you want to revert back to a monarchy. And then the last thing that also says, not relevant to policy issues or other official city business. Again, I guess that would depend on what the rulers deem as relevant. And then the last thing it says here is, public comments may also be directed to City Council at plano.gov. I would love to know who reads those comments. Do they read them? I don't know.
I don't know.
I know people who email every single council member's direct city email, and you never hear from them. Now, there are 2 council members that I can think of who I have heard about, who, when their constituents reach out to them, they always get back to them as soon as they can. Council member Shelby Williams and Council member Anthony Riccadelli, I have heard from people, are very good at getting back to their constituents in a timely fashion about their issue. So that I know is at least 2. Everyone else, not a peep out of. And if you email the mayor, you will get a robo message back saying, basically, thank you for your comment. I get a lot of them. Probably won't get back to you. I have a feeling these go in the circular file. Now, the 5th item on this list is the enforcement of the rules. And basically, it means that they can basically escort you out. I'll just sum it up. And remove you physically from the meeting by the lovely 2 police officers who are there.
So if under normal circumstances before these rules, if a fight breaks out or if someone is engaging in physical harassment or assault, they can remove you. Now they can remove you for lesser offenses.
Yes.
Yay!
Mm-hmm. Yes. They have removed people for going over their time or causing a disturbance before. Apparently, they like to repeat themselves. So, but the bigger issue here, obviously, is the issue of free speech and the issue of addressing your government for a redress of grievances or petitioning your government. We all have a constitutional right to do that. Every city, town should have the ability for its citizens to do that in one way or another. And the fact that a city council is making it harder for its citizens to do that, they are infringing on your God-given constitutional right. And we here, we do not stand for that. And this is a surefire way for the city to get sued, because you know that somebody who is too happy will gladly at one point say, this is unconstitutional and I'm going to take you to court. And lately the city has not wanted to get sued. They've been very fearful of getting sued.
Who wants to get sued?
Yeah, well, apparently there's only a matter of time. Somebody will do this. Now, we've gone over our 30 minutes a little bit, but as I said, this is our first episode, and I knew it was going to be a longer one. So I just want to go over one more thing that happened at the May 13th council meeting, the Great Update Rebate. This actually was discussed in the preliminary meeting. We have two sections of the council meetings, the preliminary and the general. So the Great Update Rebate is a program that was created in 2014. And basically, if you qualify, the city will give you a rebate on home repairs or updates you do to your house. Now, this idea, like all original ideas, it may have seemed like a good one, was to help keep neighborhoods from becoming run down and in good condition. A lot of times you have people who they can't afford to maybe paint the house, keep up the yard looking, get professional landscaping, or maybe their grass is looking really, really bad and it's got to be taken up and new grass put in. And that's why they're expensive things. And maybe you're an older person, you're on a fixed income, and you just can't do that. Well, if the whole neighborhood starts looking like that, the neighborhood can look run down and home values can drop. And of course, that means that property taxes will go down.
And they don't want that.
No. That is one thing the city does not want, property taxes to go down. But like most things that government does, it has become something it was not meant to be. Now remember, this is a rebate, so you actually have to spend the money first in order to get money back, which if you don't have the money to spend in the first place, not quite sure how you're going to spend it and then get it back. It's a little confusing to me, unless you, I guess, put it on a credit card or do a like a long-term payoff system. But of course, this has been sort of now become not keeping up the home to do major repairs or necessary repairs. It's been, I think, let's update the home, make it more in fashion or in, fads. For example, we're going to change our countertops from Formica to granite. Get rid of the linoleum and put in wood floors. Those kinds of things, which really not what it was meant for. I mean, people don't see the inside of your house when they're driving by the neighborhood. The inside of the house is not what's going to make a neighborhood look bad. It's the outside of the house.
Yeah, it's kind of just for your own selfish preferences rather than for the betterment of the neighborhood and its overall look.
Right. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the Great Update. If you want those, you can look at the council meeting. And I'm not going to go into what the council members said, because I think there is an overall principle here that really only Shelby Williams hinted at. Councilman Shelby Williams hinted at. And that is, what moral right does a government have to force its taxpayers to give money in whatever form, a rebate or just give the money outright, to fix someone's property? I mean, part of owning a home, owning property, is upkeep. You've got to maintain your house. If you let it fall into disrepair, you're only going to cause yourself problems, and you're not going to be able to go and sell that house when the time comes.
I do want to be a devil's advocate for a moment on that point, because while that is true, some people really just let their home fall into disrepair and either don't have the means or don't really, it's not a first priority for them. They don't really care that much. It's not like the first thing, something else might be like, getting money. uh, and so neighbors might complain, and then the government can come in and be like, hey, you're bringing down the value of this neighborhood. You have to fix it.
Well, I can tell you this much. We do have certain neighborhood standards. I know that if your grass gets too long, if your bushes overhang, if you have a dead bush out there, neighborhood services in Plano and in most towns will come knocking on your door and say, hey, you need to take care of that or we're going to fine you.
Exactly.
Now, if the town wants to be nice and if it wants to be helpful, what the town can do is say, all right, we'll waive the fee because you're a senior citizen, or maybe you just lost your job, or you don't have the money right now. We can get you and hook you up with organizations that are out there that will help you. There is an organization in Plano, I think it's called Handy Helpers, and they specifically do free repairs for seniors, and unfortunately I do not have their number off the top of my head. I can put it on our website. But these are senior citizens helping out other senior citizens, and all they ask for is, obviously, if you need a part, they ask you got to buy the part, and a small donation. Grandma Pitbull has used them a few times because she can't do things herself, and it is too expensive to call a handyman to come and do it. So there are folks out there that do these things for charity reasons. They ask for a donation or any kind of, help that the community can give them. And they can set you up. Maybe the town can hook you up with that. But asking a neighbor or asking somebody who doesn't even live in that neighborhood to cough up money that they could use on their own home repairs, that's just not something that is in the government's purview. The government is not here to take care of us. The government is here to do what's called necessities. They have to police, fire,
protection,
EMS, and let me tell you, they don't even have to give us sewer and water if they don't want to. There are places in Texas and in many towns across the United States that each property has a septic and each property has a well. And if something goes wrong with those things, you are on the hook for them. So we are either fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it, to have public water and public sewer. So just the basics are what a city government is supposed to give you. And fixing up your home is not part of the deal. And if you cannot afford to pay to maintain your house, then I'm sorry, but you need to sell your house and either go to a cheaper home, a smaller home, maybe go to a condo or a townhome where they pay for they do the outside and you do the inside. That's an option. But you can't keep coming to the taxpayers for a handout. That's not what they're there for.
Yeah, it kind of takes away. I know we're getting close to like an hour, but I just want to say before we end off that it kind of takes away personal responsibility. And to what you said about how people who are not even in the neighborhood would have to basically pay for it, it takes it away from the community as well to deal with the problem and to help that person, which just is not what neighborhoods, a neighborhood's a community. You're supposed to help people out. It's supposed to come together, and that kind of just takes it away and makes it very much
a middleman.
Yeah.
The government. I think if neighbors were to help out their neighbors and say, hey, your grass is getting a little long, maybe this shrub needs to be taken out, hey, I'll do it for you. I know people who do that. The neighbor can't maybe their back is injured or something, they can't mow their lawn this week. They'll go over there and they'll mow their lawn for them. That fosters community. That fosters caring about one another. And now you've got government interfering with that. So that is, to me, to us here, it's not a good thing. Alrighty, folks. Went a little long today, but it is our first episode, and we had a lengthy introduction. I would like to thank my little pup here.
What? I'm playing it up.
Regular ham. Anyway, we hope you enjoyed our first episode of Plano's Political Pitfalls podcast. And if you did enjoy us, please like and share wherever you are hearing this off of. And also, we here at Plano's Political Pitfall have a love, obviously, that is our timer, have a love for our pit bulls and all dogs. So if you are considering adopting, or I should say if you are considering getting a dog, please remember we have dogs out there in great need of adoption. And on our website, we always feature one dog that is actually in our very own Plano shelter. And remember to get them spayed or neutered. So this is Esther and
Ruth
for Plano's Political Pitfalls signing off. Okay. Are you sure about this one?